Have you ever wondered how you could do a knitting piece for a hat, a blanket, or a coaster maybe, but you never knew how to actually knit? Well, there is a way you can make things like that without actually knitting. A way you can do this is through a process called loom knitting, and you would use something like this to do it. Or I started out at the Holland Land office a few years back in a summer program using something like this. It's just 5 nails and a wooden hoop. It just doesn't have the same starter one that this one does. That's the difference. But either way, no matter what hoop you use, roughly the same process of knitting can happen and you can make the same objects. I'm going to show you how to make the base start of knitting and how to cast off, which is ending your project. So we'll begin. I'm going to start by tying the yarn to the end of this peg. Next, I'm going to wrap around the first peg and every other peg my yarn. As you see, I've already started. And you're going to do it to every other peg. I push down all the yarn to the bottom of the loom because I find that makes the next step in the process so much easier to do. It helps also while you're looping the yarn because it can be a little difficult to work with. You can hold the yarn down from peg to peg, like hold it and loop it. I'll show you in the next step to make it clear. Next, we're going to do a double loop. Take the yarn, wrap it around each peg twice. Notice how I'm holding the pegs so the yarn doesn't pop off the top. That's what I was referring to by holding the yarn and the peg in place. Now, using either a hook, a knitting needle, or you can use your fingers, whichever you would like, we're going to do knitting off, what's referred to as knitting off. Take the bottom yarn, this is where using your fingers may come in more handy, and do up and over, up and over. This is what it should look like. After you finish knitting off, and that's the entire first step of this process, we basically just grabbed the bottom of every line and took it up and over the top one, and that's what's referred to as knitting off. So now I will show you how to cast off on this one. This is a 30 peg system that I started a while ago. Taking the first peg, we're just gonna wrap around the first two. After you've wrapped yarn around the first two pegs, you're gonna take the bottom yarn and wrap it and take it and pull it up and over the yarn, which is known as knitting off. You're going to move the stitch from peg 2 to peg 1. And then you're going to knit off. As you can see, you now have an empty peg here. So then you're going to take that stitch and move it to an empty peg. And you're going to wrap the yarn around peg 3 and you're going to knit off. And you're going to repeat the process that you just did. So you're going to take this stitch from peg 3 and move it to peg 2. Take the bottom stitch and knit off by pulling it up and over. And then you're going to move that one to peg 3. And then you're going to wrap the yarn here. I'll pull it down so you can see better. Wrap the yarn around this one. Pull it up and over. Take the stitch, pull it like that, and then you're going to move it over one. So it should look like that. And that's how you start to cast off, and you just keep repeating the process. If you struggle, you can look it up online, and there's assistance videos.